And for the 18th time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last Reviewing Network Live of 2023. It is New Year's Eve, December 31st. So let me be the first to wish you all. Actually, I'm probably not the first to wish you this, but let me make my first of several times of me saying Happy New Year, everybody, because I know I'm going to be saying that a lot in this particular show. This is once again a special free preview episode here on the main YouTube channel. If you want to see more of these, we do them every week over on the Reviewing Network Live channel. I'll leave a link at the end of the video and also in the description below so you can go check that out. But for those of you who have not seen our two previous episodes, basically, what we do here is that we cover the biggest stories of the week in terms of news stories, entertainment news in particular, sometimes sports stories, anything in particular I feel like could be worthy of a topic of discussion. But we're in that week between Christmas and New Year's. How was everybody's Christmas, by the way? I hope you all had a good holiday. I hope you had some good times with your family and friends. I know I certainly did. It was a good time. Good times for all, But like I said, this is basically a show where we talk about the big news stories of the week. We also talk about some other stories of interest I think you might be interested in. We talk about some recommendations and also the weekend box office, which we'll get to in just a little bit here. Now, the good news is there is not a whole lot of news stories to break down this week. Of course, we are still in the middle of that holiday in between two holidays, Christmas and New Year's, and not really a whole lot of stories come into play here. But that does not mean that we are devoid of anything worth talking about, because we're going to be delving into some more conversations as the show goes on. So I have some things I want to talk about here. I have some lists to give out for this year. My best TV shows of 2023 and my worst TV shows of 2023 will be in this particular episode, so stay tuned for that. We also are going to talk about some of the movies I'm looking forward to in the new year, 2024, and at the end of the show, I'll have my State of the Reviewing Network for 2023, basically wrapping up 2023 as a whole, and in general, just keeping you company until we are ushered into a brand new year at the end of the night. So, basically, bottom line is that this show is a weekly stream of consciousness conversation recording session where I sit back with you guys and talk about things that happened the previous week before, along with some other news stories in general, or stories of interest I think you might be interested in. Now, these are much longer form than my usual videos, so that means there's a lot of talking here, there's a lot of unedited stuff here, and there's going to be some foul language too. So if you're not up to the challenge on that front, I advise you to step away. But if you don't find that as a problem, then kick back with us until the new year starts. Sit back, relax, and as always, let's begin the conversation. And as per usual, we begin our show by taking a look at the weekend box office, specifically the top 5, although we do have a couple of other movies that did open up this weekend are worth talking about, so we'll get to those in just a little bit here. If you're not too familiar with how the box office goes usually for after Christmas, this is probably one of the more lucrative weekends for the box office in general, because Christmas weekend is a pretty lucrative box office weekend in general, but this is the weekend when everything boosts up from the previous week. And because we have some movies here that opened up on Monday, Christmas Day, you're going to notice the numbers here are very inflated than where they usually would be, especially when you look at the 3-day weekend box office totals. But what we're going to do is we'll talk more about that as we go along here. In fact, we're going to start off with this first one here, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. The number 5 movie this week, which was number 4 last week, and that was the comedy Anyone But You, which opened last Friday and didn't do so well in its first weekend. It brought in, let's see if I can find it here, I think it was like $6 million. However, it did bump up this week 50% to $9 million. It brought in $9 million this weekend, bringing its gross to $25.1 million. I think the budget on this was $26 million, if I remember reading it correctly. But the movie's going to make its money back, which is good for them, but I wish the movie was a lot better, because I finally got to see this weekend, and it just didn't fly with me. Like, I love Glenn Powell. I like Glenn Powell. I love Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria. I think these are two very good actors in general, but man, this was just a bore of a movie. It's a story. It's kind of like what I thought it was when I saw the trailer. It's just like a really lackluster romantic comedy. Like, oh, let's have these two polar opposites pretend that they like each other, and who knows, maybe by the end of it, they will actually get together, which, if you've seen many of these romantic comedies, you know where exactly this is going to be going. And, yep, It definitely goes there, and it would work if you had believed the chemistry between these two, or if the jokes were funny, or if the story was any bit interesting. But yeah, it wasn't. It was one of the big. It wasn't even a big letdown. I kind of knew going into it that the trailers were not going to be that good in general. The trailers weren't that good in general, so I was hoping maybe just on the fact that it's directed by Will Gluck, who is a really good director, who's made a lot of really fun movies that I really enjoyed. I thought he could come through with this one, but unfortunately, not so much. So, hey, it's going to make its money back, so I guess somebody's happy. Sony Pictures is definitely happy because it's going to make money back, and they've had a pretty good year. They've had a pretty good year for the most part. The last couple months have been pretty good too. Thanksgiving was a big hit for them, so hey, more power to them. So anyway, let's move on to the number 4 movie, which is one of probably the biggest new release of the weekend in general. So the number 4 movie this week was The Color Purple. Now, this was a very interesting week for this movie because on Monday, this thing did incredible business. It was the number 1 movie at the box office on Christmas Day, $18.1 million on Christmas Day. But as the week went on, now keep in mind, most people aren't usually off work at this point between Christmas and New Year's. But as the week went on, the numbers dipped down. It dropped 61% from the previous day to 7 million on Tuesday. Dropped another 44% to 3.8 million on Wednesday, and then dropped to 15% on Thursday. That does not usually happen with a movie like this. You know, this is a film that usually the weekend is between the holidays, the numbers stay pretty steady, and we're going to see that with another WB movie in just a little bit here. But because of that, The Color Purple opened this weekend. The 3-day weekend was $13 million. However, the total in general from, I guess it would be the 6-day total would be about $45.3 million. Let me see if I can get the budget here. The budget on this is between $90 and $100 million. I think worldwide it might be close. Oh, not even close. Halfway through, $50 million. So it's probably going to do well. I really enjoyed the movie a lot. I thought it was pretty interesting how they took the stage musical and brought it into a little bit of the mix between that and the Steven Spielberg film and kind of made it its own unique thing. And I thought it worked very well. I thought it worked mostly because of the cast that they had. I think they did a phenomenal job here. You got Fantasia Barrino from the stage musical, a cast that also includes names like Halle Bailey from The Little Mermaid, her, Sierra, Coleman Domingo, Corey Hawkins, Louis Gossett Jr., Whoopi Goldberg has a cameo in the movie too. It's a really good film. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think Taraji P. Henson is great in the film, but I've always liked Taraji P. Henson. I talked about it in the review how much I was a big fan of hers, and yeah, I kind of wish she gets some Oscar consideration, but right now I don't know if that's going to be the case. I kind of wish she does, because she deserves to win an Oscar. I mean, she really, every time I see her in a movie and a TV show, I'm always like, yeah, she's putting her all into it, and she just seems like a fun person in general. Like, when you see her on, like, talk shows and all that, I've always been a big fan of hers for a long period of time, so maybe it's just my love of that actress as a whole, but I really hope that she does get some awards consideration for this. But I don't know. It's tough to say. But this movie did okay, all things considered. I mean, $45 million in 6 days is not something to shake about, especially for a movie that's pretty much half your budget already. So it might fall off a bit, but I think they're going to make a profit on this regardless. I think the word of mouth on this is going to be good enough that it will carry the load over throughout the next couple of weeks, especially without that big of a competition there until maybe Mean Girls probably, which comes out in a couple of weeks, which I hope it's good, but I don't like the fact that they're selling that movie, but they're not selling that movie as a musical, which they should be selling it as a musical. But I don't know, I mean, we'll see what happens as we go along here. But anyway, so that was the big new release. We'll talk about the other 2 new releases this week in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and move on to the number 3 film, which was number 3 last week, and that is Migration, which jumped up 38% from last week, $17.2 million, bringing its 2-week total to $54.3 million. Worldwide, it just crossed the $100 million mark, and like I said, this is a good year for Universal and Illumination in general. Illumination had 2 really good movies. One of them is, both of them probably in hot contention for my favorite movies of the year, Super Mario Brothers and this one. And this was a really good, fun movie. I can't wait to check this one out again pretty soon, so I'm glad to see this is doing well because it was a really good movie. Nicely animated, had some good fun moments. It's a good comfort food movie. This is the perfect type of film to release around the holiday season, and I'm glad to see that audiences are coming around to it, mostly because there isn't that much family competition in general, anyway, so that's Migration. So moving on to the number 2 film, which was number 1 last week. This is what I was talking about before: Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. When all these other movies in here has had positive gains, this one had a loss from last week. Brought in $19.5 million, dropping near 30% from last week. $77.8 million, bringing its worldwide gross up to $258.2 million, which doesn't sound horrible, but for a movie that comes out during the holidays, like, you kind of expect this one to stick around longer and have a better box office hold. I think the first film did that because that was the big event film for the holiday season. Let me see if I can look at the numbers from. It dropped off too, but not as much as this one did. The original Aquaman dropped off 23%, and by then it already crossed $100 million domestically. So yeah, this is really not a good sign for this movie going forward. But I guess it could be worse. You could be the Marvels. You could be some of these other lesser DC films that came out this year that didn't make much of a. Even though a couple of these DC movies were actually kind of good. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Blue Beetle. But I've delved into that long enough. But like I said, let's go ahead and move. It's interesting to see that kind of fall off. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom falling off like that. But could hold up with the word of mouth. But never know. But let's go ahead and move on to the number 1 movie, which was number 2 last week, and after opening the number 1 2 weeks ago, and that is, of course, Wonka, which brought in basically $24 million, up 32% from the previous week. $135 million after 3 weeks. The worldwide gross on this closing in on $400 million worldwide. So, not surprisingly, this movie did well. I just wish I saw what everybody else saw with it, because I gotta tell you, this is still my biggest letdown of the year. This was the one I was really looking forward to because it was Paul King, and I felt it was lifeless. Like, there were times when it looked pretty good. There were a lot of times in there but there were a lot of times when it was really boring too. Like, I wish I saw what everybody else saw in it, but I just didn't see it. But I am glad to see that people are coming around to it. Maybe it'll help them see the Paddington movies more, because I think the first two Paddington movies are still kind of little gems right now, and hopefully this will be the sign that maybe that people should go see this director's other works, Paul King. But again, I kind of wish for more with this one, unfortunately. But hey, it's going to be the big hit of the holiday season, no question about that one. So that's Wonka. That's the number 1 movie. But let's take a look at some of these other movies that open up this weekend. And the one opening up at number 6 was George Clooney's The Boys in the Boat. Is the latest directorial effort from George Clooney, which is, I think, his first one maybe since Ides of March. Oh no. I think it's either the Ides of March or the Monuments Men. Let me see, because now I'm curious. Okay, I'm way off, because he did other movies before this one. Suburbicon, I barely remember that one. The Midnight Sky, I didn't get to see that one, nor did I get to see The Tender Bar. Probably should see those ones, but The Boys in the Boat, it's the story of the University of Washington crew that represents the United States in the men's 8 at the 1936 Summer Olympic Games in Berlin, including the coaches, boat builder George Pocock, and the working class students and athletes involved, especially rower Joe Rance. Who was effectively abandoned from his family and left to fend for himself at a young age. You got people like Joel Edgerton in here, Alec Newman, Peter Guinness, Christina Malotopoulos is in here. I always like seeing him. Courtney Henegler, who was from Cobra Kai and it was also on The Big Bang Theory. So there's good people involved in this movie. But I've only seen like the previews for it. I really do not have much of an interest in checking the movie out. But at the same time, I mean, it could be good. I mean, George Clooney he's made some good movies I've really liked of his. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Good Night and Good Luck, Leatherheads, Ides of March. I think his worst one that I've seen is The Monuments Men, and even then, it wasn't that bad of a movie. It was just not as good as some of his other works. But $8.3 million, $21 million in six-day total. The budget on this is $40 million, so it'll probably make its money back in the long run. And then number 8 on the list is Michael Mann's latest film, Ferrari. And I like Michael Mann, but I think he's been on kind of a downward spiral the last couple of years. Like, the last couple of movies he's made were not that great. The last one I think I really liked of his was Collateral, and like Miami Vice and Public Enemies were just okay. I really didn't like Black Hat, but Ferrari. Let me see what the word of mouth is on this. Word of mouth is okay, but it's nothing too spectacular. It seems like. I mean, maybe Adam Driver gets some nominations for Best Actor in this, but $4 million, 10.9 million after 6 days. So we are at, and this has a big budget too, $95 million. So this is going to have to really depend on the awards buzz, I feel like, to get the attempt to make this money back in general. Because, you know, if you make your awards, if you make it back through awards consideration, I think that's considered somewhat of a, I think it makes it not seem like less of a failure at the box office, but I don't know how that works, but it reportedly did end up exceeding expectations, so I guess they were expecting much less from this, so I guess that's something, but I don't know. Making $95 million back is going to be extremely tough on this one, but again, maybe the awards buzz can help it push through, so haven't seen it yet, so I'm hoping it's good, so. But with that said, that's the weekend box office, so now let's get to some stories here. It's time for some story time. So, of course, we're just a couple of hours away from the new year starting, and, you know, I thought maybe we should look ahead to the movies of 2024. We've got a good assortment of movies coming our way, and we really don't know what's going to be the next big thing. We don't know what's going to be what's going to be this year's Barbie, or this year's Oppenheimer, or the thing that's really going to be the movie that we'll talk about for the rest of the year. We still have to wait to see what the year holds for that, but I went ahead and took a look at the list of movies coming out this year, and just in no particular order, these are some of the movies that I'm most looking forward to in 2024. And I'll start off with the one, like I talked about before, coming out in a couple of weeks, and that is Mean Girls, which is based off of the musical version of Mean Girls, but the trailers have had me stepping back a little bit, mostly because of the fact that the trailers are really selling this as it's selling it just as a remake of the original movie. It's not even bothering to bring up the fact that it's a musical, which I don't know why that is. I heard somewhere that somebody said that on Deadline Hollywood, they said that they're purposely doing that with these musicals, mostly because they don't think musicals sell anymore, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm hoping it's good, but from what I've seen from the trailers for this is not giving me I'm less excited than I really should be, mostly because it just looks like a straightforward remake of the movie, but that's not even 20 years old at this point. If you're just selling it just as the movie and don't even bother mentioning that's a musical, but the other box office buzz is looking good on this, so who knows? Maybe it could actually be worth it, but I'm looking forward to it, but I have my concerns about that one. In terms of a So Bad It's Good movie opening on the same day is The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, who is basically playing a former operative of a clandestine organization called Beekeepers, and he's basically seeking revenge for somebody after somebody he knows dies of suicide for falling for a phishing scam. And the trailers look so ridiculous and so stupid, but it's David Ayer, and David Ayer, when he is given the chance to do whatever he wants to do with it, it usually will turn out to be so bad it's good. It's so much fun in a way, but this does look like a so bad it's good type of movie. I mean, a killer beekeeper is a former operative who's a beekeeper. I mean, how crazy can you get with that? But that looks like it could be a so bad it's good type of movie. Another movie that's a so bad it's good type of film that I'm kind of looking forward to is The Underdogs, just because the trailer for this looks so bad. There's horrible CG effects in this one trailer that's been appearing online, and it's a rated R movie starring Snoop Dogg, and basically it's Snoop Dogg agreeing to coach a youth football team in order to avoid going to prison as he's trying to relaunch his career. Like, this has the potential to be so bad, but at the same time it could be so funny, so bad it's good. Like, I'm kind of curious to see how this turns out. I'm not expecting this to be good at all, but I want it to be at least entertaining, so that one I'm kind of looking forward to. Let's get to some good movies I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to Matthew Vaughn's newest film, Argylle, which had a really cool trailer that came out a while ago. And you basically have a story where you have this spy novelist who never leaves her home and is drawn into this weird world of espionage with this guy played by played by Sam Rockwell. And the plots of her book get a little too close to the activities of a sinister underground syndicate, and so this spy comes to save her from being kidnapped or killed, and her cat Alfie are plunged in this covert world where nothing is what it seems. And it looks like a fun movie. It's got a great cast: Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston. Excuse me, Catherine O'Hara, Ariana DeBose, John Cena, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, it could be a ton of fun. Matthew Vaughn doesn't usually make a lot of bad movies as a director, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. It comes out on February 2nd, and there's a couple movies coming out, streaming on February 2nd that I'm kind of looking forward to, including Orion in the Dark, which is the new DreamWorks animated feature, and you have a story here that's kind of like, it's based off of a children's book. It's written by Charlie Kaufman. You have a story here about this kid who is shy, unassuming, and has a secret crush, but he is a ball of adolescent anxiety, completely consumed by irrational fears of bees, dogs, the oceans, cell phone waves, murderous gutter clowns, and even falling off of a cliff. And these things come together when he basically is launched this guy around him called the Dark, and the literal embodiment of his worst fears pays a visit. The Dark whisks Orion away on a roller coaster ride around the world to prove that there's nothing to be afraid of in the night, which sounds a lot like that South Park episode where somebody tried to be like the ghost of kindness to Tweek, and he goes off on this adventure, and then at the end of the adventure he's just like, oh, and the guy's just like, just go into my van, and then I'll take you home, and it turns out he's a sexual predator. Like, it feels like that kind of a concept altogether, but it could be fun though. I'm really curious to see how this works because I like the animation style they have here. I think it's got a good cast. Jacob Tremblay, who's really good. Paul Walter Hauser is a really good actor. It's got Werner Herzog, too, as an actor in this movie. So I'm really curious to see how that one plays out. The other one I kind of have my interest in is The Tiger's Apprentice, which is a movie where you have this Chinese-American boy tasked with protecting a phoenix egg. You have a voice cast that includes Henry Golding, Lucy Liu, Sandra Oh, Michelle Yeoh, Bowen Yang, Joe Coy, Leah Lewis from Elemental, Greta Lee. It's got some good talents involved in here. It's based off of a series of children's books. It's going to be premiering on Paramount Plus, so I'm very curious to see how that one's going to play out. Let's see. Another one I'm looking forward to, Lisa Frankenstein, the first film by Zelda Williams, who is, of course, the daughter of Robin Williams. And trailer for this looked pretty good a couple months ago when that came out. You have a movie where you have Katherine Newton playing this misunderstood teenage goth girl in 1989 who reanimates a corpse from the Victorian era. He's played by Cole Sprouse of the Sprouse Brothers from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. They do this during a lightning storm and starts to rebuild him into the man of her dreams by using a broken tanning machine in her garage. And after going through a playfully horrific transformation, the romantic duo embarks on a murderous journey to find true love, happiness, and a few missing body parts along the way. Did I forget to mention this is written by Diablo Cody too? So that's kind of already got me excited just for that. It's a new Diablo Cody movie. I like a lot of her movies. Juno, Jennifer's Body. And I'm very curious to see how Robin Williams' daughter does as a director. I'm very curious about that. A fun concept overall here. It comes out on February 9th. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Let's see. Next up, Bob Marley, One Love, which is the biopic of Bob Marley, played by Kingsley Ben-Adir. You also have Lashana Lynch. This guy, by the way, Kingsley Ben-Adir, was in Malcolm X in One Night in Miami, which is a great, criminally underrated movie directed by Regina King, which I highly recommend checking it out. This one is directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green, who gave us King Richard, which was, of course, the film that Will Smith won his Academy Award for. The movie looks really good. I'm hoping it doesn't go into, predictable biopic territory where they try to play it too safe. I hope they go deep into Bob Marley's backstory in general, and I hope that's the case. It looks like it could be really good. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. It's got some great writers on board: Terrence Winter, Zach Balan, who wrote Creed 3, and Terrence Winter, of course, is the man that gave us Boardwalk Empire. So I'm hoping it's a good movie. Next up, I guess we're moving into March now. Of course, you got to put Dune Part 2 there. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Dune like everybody else is, I thought it was a good movie, but thankfully they made enough money so they can make this sequel, because I feel like if it was just a one-and-done film, it would have been a major, major letdown in the long run. But I'm glad to see that they're getting another movie. I'm really curious to see how they expand the story and expand this universe, and I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. They have a lot of the same people from the last movie in this one. They had Christopher Walken in here, Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Javier Bardem's also in here, Charlotte Rampling. In addition to the cast from the first film, Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where they go from there. So this is one I'm definitely looking forward to. Kung Fu Panda 4. I have my concerns about this one because I think Kung Fu Panda is a great trilogy on its own, and this fourth film has me concerned. I'm not really in terms of story, but animation wise, it looks great. Like I'm hoping that this is a nice renaissance for DreamWorks Animation after the year they had this past year, where they had a good movie in Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken that nobody saw because the studio didn't even bother to promote it. And then you have Trolls Band Together, which ended probably one of the most disappointing trilogies of recent memory. So I'm hoping that this is good. Kung Fu Panda 4 looks like it could be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm really looking forward to this really bizarre horror film called Imaginary, where you have this kid. You have DeWanda Wise from Jurassic Park Dominion. She basically returns to her childhood home with her family and finds her old stuffed bear named Chauncey. And she sees that her stepdaughter has grown attached to it. And Alice's behavior, the daughter Alice's behavior becomes very concerning, and every game they play turns incredibly sinister, and they realize that Chauncey is much more than the stuffed bear she's believed him to be all those years. Like, and the trailer for this made this thing look so freaking creepy, man. Like, this is a creepy looking bear. If you ever see the trailer for this, you see what I'm talking about. But I'm looking forward to it, except for the fact that it's Jeff Wadlow, and Jeff Wadlow is the guy that. Basically, his works have included such masterpieces as Cry Wolf, Kick-Ass 2, Truth or Dare, Fantasy Island. So yeah, that has me concerned going into that one. But the concept alone looks pretty good. I'm really interested to check it out. At the end of March, we of course have Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, which was supposed to come out in November. You can tell from that trailer that came out, they wanted to put this out around Christmas time, but they couldn't because of the actor strike. This looks like it could be really good. I really loved the last movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was my favorite movie of 2021. Here you have the Spengler family going back to New York. They stay in the iconic New York City firehouse the Ghostbusters lived in, and they help the Ghostbusters, who are developing a top-secret research lab to take busting ghosts to the next level. But when they discover an ancient artifact and unleashes this mysterious and evil force known as the Death Chill, Ghostbusters, new and old, must join forces to protect their home and save the world from a deadly and unpredictable fate that unknowingly could affect Earth's history with a second ice age. So, it sounds like, imagine that scene from The Day After Tomorrow when it's flooding and then it freezes up and it becomes snow. I think that was their whole concept of that. Imagine that, but it's a whole movie, and it's just like, you know what? I'm more than in on that. I think that could be really fun. The trailer looked pretty fun. It's great seeing everybody back from as past and present. I'm definitely looking forward to checking this out. This might be my biggest, most anticipated movie of the year. But I'm not going to say that just yet until we see the entire list in general. But also opening up on the same day is Parasite director Bong Joon-ho's follow-up, which is Mickey 17, which stars Robert Pattinson. There's a trailer for this that came out a while ago, but you basically have a story here based off of the novel by Edward Ashton, which is about an expendable who is a disposable employee of a human expedition sent to colonize the ice world. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. And you have Robert Pattinson as the leading character. Stephen Yeun is also in here. Naomi Ackie, Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo. Phenomenal cast. That's one I'm definitely looking forward to. I hope we get a trailer for this one pretty soon, a new one. Moving on to April 12th, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Maybe I'm just coming off of the hype of Godzilla -1, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the new Godzilla movie. This one has the two joining together to stop an undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence, and delves further into this movie will develop into their histories as these titans, these origins they have, and the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond. I love the last movie. It's got the same director. It's got the same team behind it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do here with this. I'm really excited to see what they do with this. The trailer looked pretty cool. Definitely looking forward to checking this one out. April 26th, we got a couple of good movies coming up. Interesting looking films. Alex Garland's Civil War, which could spark I'm guaranteeing you it's going to spark a ton of debates. So basically, it seems like The Purge, except The Purge is just taking over the entire country all the time. And you have a team of journalists traveling across the United States during a rapidly escalating civil war that has engulfed the entire nation, struggling to survive during a near-future civil war where the government becomes a dystopian dictatorship and partisan extremist militias regularly commit political violence. Alex Garland, the first two movies he directed, Ex Machina, I love that movie, and Annihilation. I love both of those movies. I haven't seen Men. I've heard a lot of mixed things about it, so I'm very curious to see if this is going to be any good. But It could be very interesting. It's a very interesting idea, very interesting concept. Phenomenal cast involved in this one too. Kirsten Dunst, Nick Offerman, Jesse Plemons, Kaylee Spaney. Definitely one I'm really looking forward to checking out. Another one I'm looking forward to watching is Challengers, which is a film that was supposed to come out in September, but because of the actor strike, they had to delay it. And you basically have a story where Zendaya plays this wife and the coach of a Grand Slam championship who signs him up for a challenger event where he faces off against a former lover. And the two lovers are Josh O'Connor and Mike Face. Mike Face, of course, from West Side Story. And I'm really excited to see where he goes in his career. I really liked him in West Side Story. Trailer for this looked pretty damn good when they put it out earlier in the year. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. Hope it's finally when it comes out on April 26th. Summertime, we got The Fall Guy, which is the adaptation of the TV series with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. David Leitch, who's a really damn good action director, is directing this one, who gave us Bullet Train and Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, Atomic Blonde, John Wick. A really fun concept overall. Really excited to see how that one plays out. That's going to start the summer movie season off on May 3rd. May 10th, we've got Back to Black, which is the Amy Winehouse biopic. Delving into the life and career of Winehouse, beginning with her early days in the early 2000s as a North London jazz musician, culminating in her rise to fame as a Grammy-winning singer. The actress who plays this, Marissa Abella, I've seen pictures of her as Amy Winehouse. It's amazing how close she looks to to the actual person. This is one I'm really looking forward to, even though this is directed by the same person that did 50 Shades of Grey, which is probably a warning sign, but I'm a big Amy Winehouse fan. I love her music, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this play out. And I like that picture that they have of her out there, where the person who's playing her actually does look like her. So I'm really excited to see that one when that comes out on May 10th. May 17th, we got another Imaginary Friend movie, only this one's not a serial killer, or at least we hope not. If. Trailer for this just came out a couple weeks ago. This is John Krasinski's follow-up to the Quiet Place movies. You have a story about this young girl who's gained the ability to see people's imaginary friends, and who've abandoned their kids that they helped. So they and her neighbor, the man upstairs, played by Ryan Reynolds, are trying to find new homes for them. And you got this phenomenal cast: Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, Bobby Moynihan, Steve Carell, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Maya Rudolph, Jon Stewart, Sam Rockwell, Sebastian Maniscalco, Christopher Maloney, Richard Jenkins, Awkwafina, Vince Vaughn. Phenomenal cast to this, and the trailers looked amazing. I mean, this is what I'm hoping that this is the antithesis of what Wonka ended up being, because the trailers for this look so damn good. I mean, I watched the trailer for this multiple times, and I was really impressed with what they were able to do here. I like the designs they have for these imaginary friends, and it just looks like a good, fun time. I really can't wait to see this one play out. It comes out on May 17th. Real looking forward to that one. Memorial Day weekend's going to have a ton of movies I'm really excited about, including Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, if I'm not mistaken, where you have a young Furiosa played by Charlize Theron in Fury Road, and now played by Anya Taylor-Joy. She's snatched from the green place of many mothers and into the hands of a biker horde led by the warlord Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. While two tyrant wars for dominance over the Citadel, Furiosa survives many trials as she plots her way back home through the wasteland. Just looks like the same good fun time that the Fury Road was. I feel like this is going to be really tough to top, but it still looks like a good fun time all around. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. We have the Garfield movie, which is, I love Garfield. He's one of my favorite characters. So, obviously, I'm going to be excited for this one. You have Garfield, voiced by Chris Pratt, the world-famous Monday-hating, lasagna-lover indoor cat, is about to have a wild outdoor adventure after an unexpected reunion with his long-lost father, played by Samuel L. Jackson. Garfield and his canine friend Odie, who's actually played by Harvey Gillian in this movie, which I didn't realize that until I saw the trailer for it. They're forced from their perfectly pampered life into joining Vic into a hilarious high-stakes heist. And I'll say this for Chris Pratt. I know there was a lot of concerns about him being announced as the voice of Garfield, but he plays it pretty well from the little bits I've seen in the trailer. I mean, yeah, it's definitely Chris Pratt, but that voice, I think, just fits that character well enough where he can make that work. Yeah, it's Chris Pratt, but you know what? it's hard to top that. I mean, Lorenzo Music was hard to top as the voice of Garfield, and even Frank Welker, who's a really good replacement, he can't reach those peaks that someone like Lorenzo Music was able to do. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. It comes out on a Memorial Day weekend. Also coming out on Memorial Day weekend, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Kind of like with Kung Fu Panda, I'm really concerned about this one, mostly because we have a great trilogy as it is. I don't know if this is going to be as good as those movies, but I hope it's just as good. I hope it's just as good, because the trailers for this looked pretty good. Wes Ball directed it, who did the Maze Runner movies. So I'm really curious to see what he can do with a series like this. And this thing takes place nearly 300 years after the events of War for the Planet of the Apes. Ape civilization has emerged from the oasis to which Caesar led his fellow apes. And so humans have regressed into a feral state. You have this leader, played by Owen Teague, who perverts the teaching of Caesar to enslave other clans in search for the lost traces of human technology. And you have this other person named Noah. Noah's the one who's played by Owen Teague. I'm sorry, I said someone else, but no, Proximus Caesar is Kevin Durand, who's a really good underrated actor. So I'm sorry if I got that mixed and confused, but so you have this common chimpanzee, Noah, who embarks on a harrowing journey alongside a young human made to determine the future for apes and himself and humans alike. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Like I said, I hope it's as good. I hope it's as good as the series, the trilogy we just got. But I just want it to be good. I mean, I like the visuals in here. I like the ideas that they have. The trailer looked pretty good, so I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. Moving on into June, we have Disney Pixar's Inside Out 2, which the trailer for it looked pretty good. It has a lot of good ideas to it. You basically have the same characters we have from the last movie, except Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling are out of this one. They brought in Tony Hale and Liza Lapira to play Fear and Disgust. And you have the story here where you have the headquarters of Riley just going under the sudden demolition to make way for something entirely unexpected. A lot of new emotions, including anxiety, played by Maya Hawke, who's of course the daughter of Ethan Hawke. Joy Sadness, Anger, Fear, and Disgust, who've long been running a successful operation by all accounts, aren't sure how to feel when anxiety shows up, and it looks like she's not alone. It looks like we're going to see a lot of other different emotions in this, and I think it's a fun idea. The trailer looked pretty fun. It gave us a little tease of what's to come, and I'm really curious to see how this one's going to play out. That's what I'm definitely looking forward to. There's a new Bad Boys movie coming out by the guys who did the last movie. Bad Boys for Life was one of the year's best movies that year, but then again, that was because we were in a pandemic. But it definitely looks like it could be fun. I really like the last movie. I really liked all the Bad Boys movies, honestly, including Bad Boys 2. But this is one I'm definitely very curious to see how this one plays out. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are back. They brought a lot of the characters back from the last movie too. Definitely looking forward to checking this one out. The Bike Riders comes out on June 21st. This was Jeff Nichols' film that was originally supposed to be released by Disney in December, but got delayed because of the actor strike and eventually shelved by the studio. And so Focus Features picked it up. You have a story here that takes place with this fictional Chicago motor club in the 1960s, and it's seen through the lives of their members, including Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, Mike Face, Norman Reedus. They evolve over the course of a decade from a gathering place for local outsiders into a more sinister gang, threatening the original group's unique way of life. And definitely looking forward to checking that one. Jeff Nichols' first film after Loving, which came out 7 years ago, which I really underrated little gem. So that one I'm definitely looking forward to checking out. Quiet Place Day 1, the prequel to the Quiet Place series, which is, I believe, takes place before the events of the second is either the first or the second movie takes place before the events of, but it takes place before the events of one of those movies. You got Lupita Nyong'o in here, Djimon Hounsou's also in here, Alex Wolff, Dennis O'Hare. I'm really curious to see how that one's going to play out. I like the other two Quiet Place movies a lot. John Krasinski's not directed this one, though, because he's working on If, which is we just talked about already. But that was one I'm definitely looking forward to. Let's see. Next one after that, at the end of July, Deadpool 3. Deadpool joins the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and, you know, we're going to get to see what he looks like in there, and it looks like they're going to stick with the R rating for this, which is the right thing to do. You know, Deadpool's coming back, Wolverine's coming back in this one, Hugh Jackman, Jennifer Garner supposedly coming back in this one as Elektra. Just a lot of fun ideas. They've got Dogpool in this movie. Like, that's going to be fun to watch. Like, I really do like they're bringing on all these different people here. Sean Levy directed this one. Great director, a good director overall. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. So that comes out on July 26th. Let's see, what's next? We got Alien Romulus, which is directed by Fede Alvarez, who also gave us The Evil Dead 2013 and Don't Breathe. As long as it's not Ridley Scott, I'm excited to see what they do here with this, because when Ridley Scott comes back to the Alien movies, everyone gets excited about it, but unfortunately, like, Ridley Scott, I love him I like him as a director, but I think his most recent works have not been as great as everyone makes him out to be, especially with some of the more recent films he's done, like, The Last Duel I really didn't like. I didn't like Napoleon either, but, Alien Romulus takes place between the events of 1979's Alien and 1986's Aliens. They brought the same team from Aliens, the James Cameron film, the same people who brought those xenomorphs to actually come on and build ours. So, definitely really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I'm really curious to see how that one's going to play out. Can't wait to see that one. Let's see. September 6th, Beetlejuice 2. It's finally happening, I guess. Tim Burton's coming back. Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder. They brought in Jenna Ortega from Wednesday. I'm excited for it, but kind of like with The Flash, I really am not looking forward to this as everybody else is. Like, yeah, it's cool Michael Keaton's coming back as Beetlejuice, but it's been over 35 years since the first Beetlejuice movie, and I really don't know how that's going to play out in terms of how they're going to do this. Like, I feel like it's one of those. I have a thing with comedy sequels in general. Like, comedy sequels in particular, the best time to do it is between 2 to 4 years. I feel like you can get the best comedy sequels within 2 to 4 years. If you're waiting over 30 years to give us a comedy sequel, it's more than most times it's not going to work. Like, Coming to America was one of those big examples. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, which is I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I have to think back to what happened with Coming to America, which was not a good sequel. So, this one, I'm just kind of like, I'm hoping it's good. I hope that this is worth all that time bringing these characters back, but I'm not going to say right away that I'm definitely looking forward to it. But I'm kind of curious about it. We got Transformers 1, which is an animated feature with the Transformers people, directed by Josh Cooley, who gave us Toy Story 4. Has a great cast that includes Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key, John Hamm, and Lawrence Fishburne. Definitely looking forward to checking that one out. John Watts has a new film. The Spider-Man director has a new film out, Wolves, with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. You have two professional fixers and find themselves hired for the same job. It's a psychological action thriller film, and John Watts is a good director, so I'm definitely very curious to see what he does outside of the Spider-Man movies. Plus, George Clooney and Brad Pitt have worked together in the past, and it's worked out pretty well for them. Moving into October, we have Joker Folie à Deux. Joker 2, pretty much, which brings in Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Following up on the first movie, I'm curious to see how that one's going to play out. Really excited to see the trailer when we eventually get it. After that, though, there's not really a whole lot there after that in October or even the beginning of November. I think the next big thing I see in November that I have some keen interest in is Red One with Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans. It's directed by Jake Kasdan, who gave us the Jumanji movies. And the story for this one is... Oh, it doesn't say. Plot under wraps is what they call it. But Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans... it's also got Lucy Liu, Mary Elizabeth Ellis, J.K. Simmons, Bonnie Hunt. It looks like a Christmas action film. Like, it could be fun. It could be a fun movie in general. A Christmas action comedy. Definitely looking forward to checking that one out. December, I think, has a lot of the other movies I'm looking forward to. I mean, Lord of the Rings has a new animated film, The War of the Rohirrim, which was a film that was supposed to come out in April, but they moved that back. Set 261 years before the events of Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, The War of the Rohirrim tells the story of Helm Hammerhand, a legendary king of Rohan who must defend against an army of Dunlendings. He becomes the namesake for the stronghold of Helm's Deep. And it looks like they have Brian Cox as the voice of Hammerhand. Miranda Otto reprises his role as Éowyn for the Lord of the Rings movies. Really curious to see what the animation for this is going to look like. I mean, it's on a big screen. I have to think it's going to look good, but we'll see. There's a new Karate Kid movie coming out. We don't know too much about it, except Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio are going to be in it, so they're blending the two Karate Kid universes together. I have an interest in Mufasa the Lion King, and I wasn't one of those people that really hated the 2019 remake. I actually didn't mind it. I thought it was a disappointment overall, but this prequel idea sounds weird, but at the same time, with the people they have on here, Barry Jenkins as the director, Jeff Nathanson as the writer, and it's kind of an interesting idea. You have a story here, the prequel about the rise of one of the greatest kings of the Pride Lands goes back to the African savannah where Rafiki tells Kiara, daughter of Simba and Nala, so we're adding in Lion King 2 Simba's Pride into the mix here. The story of her grandfather, while Timon and Pumbaa add color commentary, so it's a little bit of the Lion King 1.5 in there too. It sounds so weird, but at the same time, it could be something very interesting, so definitely curious about that one. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 comes out in December. We're going to see, we saw Knuckles already, but they're adding Shadow the Hedgehog in here, supposedly played by Jared Leto, but I haven't heard that as official, but everybody else is coming back from the last movie, with the exception of Robotnik, which I'm actually kind of curious if he's coming back at all, but like Jim Carrey said, that he's basically retiring from acting after this, but you never know. It still a long way to go for that one, but Ben Schwartz, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, Idris Elba, James Marsden, Tika Sumpter, Lee Majova are back in this one, so nevertheless, I'm curious about that one. And then finally, we have Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, which is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her. And the vampire, I think, is being played by Bill Skarsgård. You have Nicholas Hoult here, Lily Rose Depp, Ellen Taylor-Johnson. Robert Eggers has such a unique directing style to this, and he really brings a lot to the table here. So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the story of Nosferatu. So, other than that, though, that's as far as I know of release dates already set. I know we have some stuff like the previously mentioned Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, and then whatever happens with Coyote vs. Acme down the road. But those are the ones I'm most looking forward to in 2024. So with that said, let's talk about television in 2023. So, of course, we are nearing the end of 2023, and that means it's time to look back on what the year in entertainment gave us. Of course, I'm saving my thoughts on the movies of the year for next week. I'm talking about the movies, so stick around for that. But let's talk about my favorite TV shows of the year, the best and worst TV shows of the year. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen enough to put together 2 different lists here for my favorites, for my best and the worst of list. And so we'll start with my best of list, and my honorable mentions in particular, they're not in any particular order, but I have some shows right here I didn't get to talk about in the actual top 10 list. And I'll start off with Murder at the End of the World, which just came out this past November. And it's the story of this amateur detective played by Emma Corrin, who's invited along with 8 other guests by a reclusive billionaire played by Clive Owen to participate in a retreat at an isolated Arctic compound in Iceland. When one of the other guests is found dead, Darby must use all of her skills to prove it was murder against the tide of complicating interests and before the killer takes another life. And just the visual style of this alone looks incredible. I love these type of mysteries, like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or like a lot of other movies and TV shows I've talked about, where they take place in the snow, take place in the mountains. Like these are the type of things I live for. And this is another great one right here, written by Britt Marling and starring her as well. She really is one of those underrated actresses that are also really good writers and directors as well. She's directed a lot of stuff. She's written and directed a lot of stuff she's been involved in. And Emma Corrin, Harrison Dickinson, Alice Braga, Joan Chen, Jermaine Fowler, Clive Owen, a really good cast, really good mystery in general, and I really am very happy to say that this is really one of those shows you have to see to believe. Definitely check it out, A Murder at the End of the World. Fargo, just as good as it's been before. The new season has been on for a couple weeks now. Great cast this year. John Hamm is in this new season. Juno Temple, scene stealer. Like, she really is one of the best things about this new season. Jennifer Jason Leigh's also in this. Lamont Morris, Joe Keery, Dave Foley's in this. Just another great season of this show. This is definitely one of those shows that really just keeps getting better and better with each season. Like, I love the show so much. Fargo, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. This season's definitely worth a watch. Twisted Metal, is part of a really good year of video game adaptations in the world of television, as we're going to get to in the top 10. But Twisted Metal was really a fun show. Anthony Mackie's in it. It's on Peacock. Really damn good show, and like really a ton of fun. Definitely feels like the video game. It also has a cast that includes Stephanie Beatrice, Will Arnett as the voice of Sweet Tooth, Thomas Hayden Church, created by the guys who gave us Zombieland. I mean, this is just so ridiculously fun and over the top. It's just a ton of fun. I love it. It's worth it. Watch. It makes you want to get Peacock, honestly. Lucky Hank, which is the follow-up to Better Call Saul with Bob Odenkirk in it. Bob Odenkirk plays an English department chairman in an underfunded Pennsylvania college, and he walks the line between midlife crisis and full-blown meltdown, navigating the offbeat chaos in his personal and professional life. Developed by Toby from The Office and directed by Peter Farrelly. It was a great show that unfortunately got canceled after one season. Ratings, I guess, were not that strong in general, but I thought it was a great show. I really wished it would have gotten another season, but I don't work at AMC, so I don't know what happened there. Maybe they just wanted to put another Walking Dead series on there, because heaven knows we need another one of those. But I digress. The Crossover, which is a show that was on Disney+. The story of the show is that you have two brothers who are considered basketball phenomenons, and they navigate their lives entering adulthood as well as their growth into their family. I thought this was a really good show. It's a nice, heartwarming family drama that reminded me a lot of Hoop Dreams, one of my favorite movies of all time. LeBron James produced this show. It's a really good show. I really enjoyed it a lot. Unfortunately, it's another one of those shows that didn't get another season. It was actually taken off of the Disney Plus recently, so it's kind of hard to watch it now. But they might have put it back on. I'd have to double check again. But I thought for a little bit they took it off. But if you can find it on there, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth the watch. The Crossover. So moving on, Night Court, which was one that I was not expecting to be as good as it was. But Melissa Rauch from The Big Bang Theory and John Larroquette returning as Dan, it's got that magic again. And Marsha Warfield's been returned as Roz in the last couple of episodes. It's a pretty good show. It's a really good retelling of the show, and I'm really glad to say that, because it was a show that I didn't think was going to be as good as it probably was back in the day, because Night Court in its heyday was really, really damn good. But this is about as entertaining as you can get. I highly recommend checking it out, and it makes you want to go back to broadcast television again. It's a broadcast show on NBC. They definitely put the money to it, and it definitely works in the long run. Which, speaking of broadcast television, shows that actually make you want to go back to broadcast television, Will Trent. Will Trent was the show that really looked pretty bad from the promos, but made for a fun procedural show in the long run. I'm actually really happy that the show turned out to be as good as it ended up being. Ramon Rodriguez is very good as Will Trent. Erica Christensen is in this as well. Just a really good, fun show, and I'm very excited to see the new season coming up in February, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, February 20th is when it comes out. And then, last but not least, for the honorable mentions, we have the 95th Academy Awards, which, thank God for that, because the Academy Awards was really starting to lose me in the last couple of years. But when you have a show that actually honors the really good movies of the year and has a great host in Jimmy Kimmel who can really carry the show all the way through, then, it's one of the best Oscar shows I've seen in recent years. And the Oscars has really been struggling to keep up. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Oscars, it used to be something that was something that I really needed to watch, but now it's become more of a job than it actually has been a pleasure. It's become more of a chore to watch the Oscars as of late. But I am happy to say that this year's Oscars, that the one they had this past February, was really worth it in the long run. So those are the honorable mentions. So let's go ahead and get into my top 10 favorite TV shows of 2023. So starting off at number 10 on my list of my favorite TV shows, Praise Petey, which is a show that came out in the summertime. It was a freeform animated show they were trying to set up as their next big animated show, and unfortunately it lasted only one season, which is extremely unfortunate because the show really is that funny. Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek stars as this wealthy New York socialite who had it all until her mother informs her that she inherited this small town from her father, played by Stephen Root, called New Utopia. And upon arriving, she discovers that her father was a cult leader and that the residents have been brainwashed to mindlessly follow her due to her father's influence. Now she has a new purpose in life. She's hoping to have New Utopia think for themselves and be normal by starting with the abolishment of human sacrifices. And a phenomenal cast. Annie Murphy, Stephen Root, Christine Baranski, John Cho has a very good role in this as Bandit, Amy Hill, Kiersey Clemens. Such a phenomenal cast. It reminded me so much of Little Demon from FXX last year, which unfortunately also got canned after one season. Criminally underrated animated show that you should definitely check out if you can find it somewhere. But this show was just as funny. The first episode alone won me over with this whole idea that her boyfriend was this plank named Brian, a wood plank. I was literally thinking to myself, that's Plank's brother from Ed, Edd n Eddy, isn't it? That's Plank from Ed, Edd n Eddy. That's his brother, isn't it? Because it kind of feels like that way. And it's just like It's a show that takes us, it's so ridiculously over the top, but it's so much fun. I wish it got another season, but it unfortunately got axed after 1 year, which really sucks. But if you can find it on Hulu, I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth a watch. Praise PD. Really, really good show. Moving on to number 9, another show that got canceled after 1 season, unfortunately, The Muppets Mayhem. This show centers around Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. You have this junior executive played by Lily Singh, who must deal with the madness caused by them, who come face to face with the modern music business as they try to record their first ever album, which to go platinum. And you have, all the characters from Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, and it's good fun It's the Muppets, man. It's good fun Muppet fun. Like, you get everything you asked for and then some. It was a great show, great music all around, and unfortunately, it got axed after 1 season. Basically, another Disney Plus Muppet show that just gets axed after 1 season because Disney doesn't know what to do with the Muppets. I mean, it's the second show now they've had on there that got canceled, and the first one being Muppets Now. But the Muppets Mayhem is the far better show, and it's definitely worth a watch on there. If you can find it on there, I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth it. It's a really funny show. The Muppets Mayhem, that's my number 9 favorite show of the year. Moving on to number 8, another Disney Plus show, American Born Chinese, and this is a show that had Ke Kwan and Michelle Yeoh from Everything Everywhere All at Once on there. You have the story of this kid who is struggling to fit in with his peers, and when he's tasked to show a new exchange student around, he's unexpectedly thrusted into this battle between mythical Chinese gods, including 2 played by Michelle Yeoh and Daniel Wu. And this is based off of a graphic novel of the same name, and it was a really good show. The action sequences in here are a ton of fun. A lot of great adventure aspects in here. The casting overall is really good. Really good storyline overall. It's also directed by the guy who gave us Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton, and Lucy Liu actually directed an episode as well. And one of the writers is also the writer of one of the writers on Bob's Burgers. So there's so much there that works to the show's advantage. I don't know if it hasn't been canceled yet or not, but I hope it isn't, because I was really looking forward to seeing what they do with this show going forward, especially with the last half of the season that they had. Definitely check it out. American Born Chinese, really worth a watch. Moving on to number 8. I just did number 8. Number 7, another streaming show, Ashoka, which is, of course, from Star Wars, played originally in the Clone Wars by Ashley Eckstein. And this is the live-action show with Rosario Dawson basically reprising her role from The Mandalorian. And the story continues the story from the Mandalorian. We have the former Jedi apprentice of Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars, seeking to prevent the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn following the fall of the Empire. And this just goes to show you that the Star Wars series on Disney Plus do still have merits to them. Rosario Dawson is really good in the show. It balances the new and older elements of the show pretty well. There's a lot of good dramatic aspects. There's a lot of good, a little bit of some good comedic aspects as well. It's a nice return to form for Star Wars. I mean, the other shows they've done have not been bad, but they haven't been Mandalorian good. This is about as good as Mandalorian as you can get. You have Mary Elizabeth Winstead playing Hera Syndulla, which is really a ton of fun to watch. Ray Stevenson is also in the show. This was actually the last thing he did before he died, playing Baylan Skoll. I thought he was pretty good in here. David Tennant's also in this show as well. C-3PO. You have Hayden Christensen showing up as Anakin. It's a really good show. I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely one of the better Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. And continuing with the streaming shows, a lot of streaming shows on here. Number 6 on my list of the best shows of 2023, Hulu's Reservation Dogs, which I was a fan of the show right from the get-go, and this is the show that proves that Taika Waititi still can make you laugh and still make you feel entertained. If you haven't seen the show, it follows 4 indigenous teenagers in rural Oklahoma. They spend their days hanging out and committing crimes to earn enough money to leave their reservation community. It's a really damn good show, and this last season was probably their best work yet. It's a show that I've really been getting into right from the get-go. I think it's a ton of fun. I think it's very well written. You like these characters a lot. It's a really, really damn good show. I wish it would keep going, but I think it does end on a good enough note where it does end on a good note where I can say this is definitely one of the best overall shows they've had on FX in a long, long time. One of the best shows Hulu's had in a long, long time, and I highly recommend it. Reservation Dogs, definitely check it out. Start from this first season and go from there. Obviously, you should do that, but it's worth it. Number 5, The Fall of the House of Usher. This is another one of those shows from Mike Flanagan. Like, this guy, I don't know how he does it all the time, but every time his name is on something, he just creates such a unique, inventive television series, that, or anything in general, that he puts his name onto it. And I mean, this guy is so damn good at what he's doing. Like, with The Haunting of Hill House and the movie, like, he did Oculus, which was incredible, which was a really great movie, which was a really underrated film. He did Origin of Evil, the Ouija film, which is awesome. Doctor Sleep was awesome. And now The Fall of the House of Usher is another winner for him. You basically have a story here where you have these two siblings who have built Fortunato Pharmaceuticals into an empire of wealth, privilege, and power. The past secrets come to life where the heirs to the Usher dynasty start dying at the hands of this mysterious woman from their youth. And, like I said, man, he really knows what he's doing. Like, this is a guy that just really knows what he's doing, and I will never figure out what his secret is. And honestly, I wouldn't mind it at all, because he knows what he's doing. Let him do his job. And once again, he delivers another winner here. Great visual flair and style, terrific acting with Carla Gugino, Bruce Greenwood, and Mark Hamill leading the charge. A unique approach to the Edgar Allan Poe stories we haven't seen done before, and it really is one of the best highlights of the year. Number 5 on my list of my favorite TV shows. Coming in at number 4 on my list, we have Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai. Now, this was a show that was announced way back when HBO Max first started, and it took a long time for us to finally get to this show. And when it finally came, it delivered on everything they promised us and then some. And you have a story here that you have... this is a prequel to the original film. You follow this 10-year-old kid who meets this young Mogwai called Gizmo, who, along with a teenage street thief named Ellie, Sam and Gizmo take a perilous journey through the Chinese countryside, encountering and sometimes battling colorful monsters and spirits from the Chinese folklore. On their quest to return Gizmo to his family and uncover a legendary treasure, they are pursued by Riley Green, who is a power-hungry industrialist and his growing army of evil gremlins. The series also delves into the creation of the Mogwai by the goddess Nuwa and her brother Fuxi. And it's literally spelled F-U-X-I. Like, I almost said Fuxi, but that's not it. I'm hoping that's not it, but this was a great show. A really delightful and animated, fun, amazingly fun prequel to the Gremlins series that pays its level with respect to the original films, while also creating this pretty good storyline that leads into the films. I mean, it's a really good show. It's animated. The animation's very good. C. Shun did the animation for this, and I think he also did. I'm trying to see if he did what I think he did. Maybe not. Maybe I'll think of somebody else. But he has done some stuff before. He's done like Once Upon a Time. He did Gotham. Two really good shows at various points in those shows' runs. But this has been a really good show, and they actually bring characters back from the original series as well. Zach Gilligan plays a character in this. Haviland Morris, who was in Gremlins 2, is also in here as well. It's a really good show. I highly recommend it. It's on HBO Max, or Max, I guess, but it's definitely worth a watch. Definitely check it out. Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai, that's number 4 on my list. Moving on to number 3, Tiny Toons Looniversity was really one of those shows that I was hoping for the best, and it's one of those shows that when it was announced that they were changing a lot of things, specifically making Buster and Babs twin siblings instead of, boyfriend, girlfriend like they were in the original show, there were a lot of concern. A lot of people were scared about it, but I can easily say that this show not only does not fail, but it's actually one of the best shows of the year. It really is a damn good, fun show with a lot of great animation to work with, giving it a very similar feel to the original Tiny Toons, but also making its own thing. It's a really good show. A lot of great voice work in here. Eric Bowles is a really good version of Buster Bunny. You have other characters as well. They do a good job of establishing these new, unique identities for these characters. The comedy overall is very good. They capture a lot of the Looney Tunes-inspired humor to a T in this, which also brings in its modern edge as well, and I think it blends very well in the show. The characters are fun to watch. You do really enjoy watching the camaraderie between all the characters, and even though Buster and Babs are siblings in this, they do a pretty good job of distancing the two from the Tiny Toons Adventures Buster and Babs, so that it doesn't really feel weird or icky at times. Like, you do like the connections all these characters have with one another, not just with Buster, Plucky, and Hampton, but Babs and Sweetie have a lot of really good chemistry together. They make good uses of the classic characters as well. Even the more obscure Looney Tunes characters get some acknowledgments in this show as well. Like, it's a pretty damn good, fun show. Great animation, solid voice work, good comedy. The characters are fun to watch interacting with one another. It's just a fun and entertaining reboot of the original series while being its own thing. I love it. Tiny Toons Looniversity, my 3rd favorite show of the year. Moving on to number 2, my second favorite show of the year. Wouldn't be a top 10 list without putting The Last of Us on there. I mean, what a great show this was. Created by Craig Mazin, who gave us Chernobyl. Produced by PlayStation Productions, who also did Twisted Metal. Apparently, the TV department needs to talk to the movie department of PlayStation when it comes to making movies based off of their video games, because the movie department has made Uncharted and Gran Turismo, which have not been good movies, but their television department is just rolling along, and The Last of Us is just pitch-perfect stuff. I mean, this is incredible what they were able to accomplish with this. A really good show, a really good straight adaptation of the video game while also creating its own thing. Pedro Pascal is great in the show. Everybody in the show in general is really good. I mean, there's a strong cast in this, and it's a lot of great things, a lot of the great elements to this. It really is one of the best video game adaptations ever. Not just a television show, not just the movies, but ever. It really, really works to a T, and it's really something that I'm happy to see that this happens. Like, we're finally moving into that other area where video game adaptations can be more than just get somebody, just make a movie, people will come and see it. But no, you actually get people that know what they're doing, know what kind of a story they want to tell, and it just works. It just works at so many levels, and it's a ton of fun to watch. It's really entertaining. It's a great retelling of the video game. I'm really excited to see where they go from here with the next season. I hope it's worth it. I hope this becomes the next big thing, the next Game of Thrones, the next House of the Dragon, the next big must-see TV show. The Last of Us, my second favorite show of all time, which brings us to my number one favorite overall show of the year, and my number one favorite show of 2023 is My Adventures with Superman. Now, this was a show that was also in development for a long period of time. Like, this was a show that was first announced, I think, back when HBO Max was getting started, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but we finally get it, and it's more than worth it. You have a story here that follows Clark Kent as he builds a secret identity as Superman and explores his mysterious origins, and you have Lois Lane, who Clark develops a crush on, and vice versa, who's on her way to becoming a star reporter, and teams up with his photographer and Clark's best friend, Jimmy Olsen. The trio breaks the stories that matter and save the day against many villains in the city of Metropolis, while also contending with Task Force X. And the show just really is a really delightful show. Like, after seeing what Zack Snyder has done to Superman in the last decade and how he's just completely ruined this iconic character in general, just with the movies and how he perceives everybody, like, in those movies, like, it just makes me so mad every time I think about it. But man, this show was definitely something that just was a huge wake up call. It just brought me back into the world of Superman. And again, kind of like with Tiny Toons University, you just love the connection and the chemistry between all three of the main characters. Clark Kent, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen. Their friendship just works so well in here, and the animation is just so much fun. From the very first scene of the show, when you flash to Smallville and you see Clark Kent being able to figure out his ability to fly, and he saves a woman and her baby from a car accident. Like, this show completely understands what makes Superman so special, what makes Superman such an iconic character, and it just delivers on everything that you can ask for and then some. This is a really damn good, entertaining show that just feels like they know exactly what they're doing, and it's just really good. It's just really well done. The voice work is top-notch. Jack Quaid is great as Clark Kent. Alice Lee as Lois Lane. Ismail Saheed as Jimmy Olsen. You also have a lot of notable names in the cast. Corey Wogan, Chris Parnell, Deborah Wilson, Michael Emerson as Brainiac. I love the show, man. Like, I really love it. It's not really an Adult Swim show, even though I don't think Adult Swim even knows what Adult Swim is anymore, because it starts in the middle of the day now instead of late at night. And the shows that they put on between 5 and 10 o'clock aren't really adult shows, but I digress. But My Adventures with Superman definitely is well worth the watch. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. You will not be disappointed by it. It's my favorite show of 2023, bar none. Definitely check it out. So those are my favorite TV shows of the year. Let's talk about the worst TV that 2023 had to give us. So now we've taken a look at the best shows of the year. Let's talk about the worst TV shows of 2023. Not as many as per usual, there was only a couple of shows in particular on my honorable mentions list. The rest of the list, pretty much straightforward. Let's go briefly through the honorable mentions here. The first one I have here is Animal Control, which is that new show on Fox that came out during the spring with Joel McHale in it, where you have a group of animal control workers in Seattle, and you start to see their lives complicated by humans and not so much by animals. It felt like they were trying to create the next Brooklyn Nine-Nine with this, and me personally, I didn't think it worked. I didn't think it was all that funny. The characters in particular are not really all that interesting, at least in my opinion they aren't, but it did well enough to get a second season, so who knows? Maybe they'll turn it around, but I seriously doubt it. But Animal Control was one of the other. The other honorable mention I have on here is The Golden Bachelor, which is the older version of The Bachelor, if you will, with a 72-year-old restaurant retiree and a widow from Hudson, Indiana, who essentially is on the show he's got these other senior citizens that he's trying to end up marrying, which he actually will get married this week, I think. But I know a lot of people really like The Bachelor, which I don't know why, but it's just I've had a problem with The Bachelor for so many years now, because it feels like shows like this and other shows by Mike Fleece is just like this is a guy that's clearly trying to propel the idea that everything in a romantic comedy or everything in a fantasy story can happen in real life. And let's just have this, when they try so hard, they really try too damn hard to make everything look fascinating or fantastic. I always go back to that one time when The Bachelor had this contestant showed up in a dolphin costume, and anybody who would do that in real life would automatically be shunned for that. But no, on this show, it's funny, it's magical. It's just like, no, like this is why I hate reality TV so much, because it's not reality television. No matter what they tell you, nobody would do this type of stuff in reality television. And yeah, I guess you want to root for this guy to find the love of his life at his old age, but at the same time, it's still following the same concept as the other Bachelor shows, and I just can't do that to myself to really get behind this guy. Unfortunately, like it's just what it is. Like, it just really is where I'm at with these shows. So The Golden Bachelor is the other honorable mention on this list. So let's go ahead and get to the actual list itself. And starting off on here, we have number 10, the NBA in-season tournament, which I think is one of the dumbest ideas ever, because the whole concept of this is that let's have a championship within a championship is within a regular season. It's a new thing. It's something that it's going to be so groundbreaking and so unique. You watch this. I watched this thing this year, and basically what I saw was just another excuse for the Los Angeles Lakers to win a championship that really is not worth it in the end. It's not really that special. Like, they won it against the Indiana Pacers, and the Pacers were not that great of a team to begin with. At least this season, they weren't. At least so far in these first couple of weeks of the season, they really weren't. But like as I'm recording this right now, the Pacers are at 17-14 on the season, and the Lakers are 17-16. I feel like this is something that they just put in there because these two teams aren't getting anywhere near a championship this season. Like, it just feels rather pointless. The whole concept of this just feels really, really pointless. And really, what's the outcome? What am I supposed to take away from this? Like, what is any NBA fan in particular supposed to take away from this? It's just like the courts look ridiculous. They look like the courts all look like something you would see on a Nickelodeon game show from the 1990s. And even those shows were much more fun in comparison to this. I never saw the real reason why to have an in-season tournament, and sure enough, I think a lot of people also did too. Nobody really got excited when the Lakers won, and they put that thing up. It's like, oh, we're gonna have a banner up in the Raptors of Staples Center, or Crypto Co Arena, I guess it's called now. I always remember it as the Staples Center, but yeah, we're gonna put a banner up there, and it's just like, why? Like, why do you want to celebrate this? Like, does the NBA really think that this is going to be something that's going to last forever? I certainly don't think it will. I think a lot of people would agree that it probably isn't going to be worth it when it's all said and done, but it just didn't do anything to the brand name. It just felt like a pointless extension of something that really does not need to be there. It's probably going to be there again, mostly because somebody is going to these two teams aren't going to be anywhere near a championship by the time the season ends in the summertime. That's just my take on it. But so the NBA in-season tournament's my number 10 worst TV show of 2023. Number 9 is the Game Show Show, which is a documentary that came out in the summer about the history of game shows, and it started off promising. It started off promising the ideas of how, game shows, the history of game shows. Like, you look at shows mentioning, like, different origins of different game shows, like Jeopardy! And Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And then they tackle ideas about, like, controversial game moments in game show history, like the 21 scandal or the Pressure Lux scandal, those type of things. It was going good, and then, slowly but surely, once they got into, like, the second half of its run, they started adding reality shows into this, and it's just like reality shows and game shows are not the same thing. I'm sorry, they're just not. Like, I don't understand why we're throwing reality shows in the same category as game shows. Yeah, they're competitions, but you know what? Game shows are much more fun than reality shows. I don't hate people like I have. It's like I hate people whenever I watch these terrible reality shows. Like, it's like when I watch a game show, I want to watch somebody win a prize. I don't want to watch 6 weeks of somebody acting like a jackass and hoping that it's going to boost their careers. And, like, ever since they started moving into reality show territory, it's just like this show really lost the whole motive of what it was trying to do. It felt like it was trying to continue that argument that reality shows are the same as game shows, which they're not. They're just not. Like, game shows are fun. Reality shows are not. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm that person that really does not believe that game shows and reality shows are the same thing. And the fact that this show tried to make the argument that that's the case, that just really turned me off of it pretty quickly. And, that really let me down big time. The Game Show, number 9 on the list. Coming in at number 8, Crapopolis, which was a show that, those shows that show that they were talking about for a number of years that was going to be a show that was completely made out of NFTs and the blockchain and all that type of stuff? Well, it's finally here, almost 4 years after they announced that it was going to be coming. And, they basically already renewed the show for 3 seasons before the first episode even aired. Like, it just... First of all, NFTs are not a thing that's going to become a thing, so stop trying to make it that. And, like I said, they renewed the show for 3 seasons before the first episode even aired. So you have to come out of the show right from the get-go with something really good, and it's just not there, man. This is just a show that is so lifeless. It's so boring. I don't care if it has Dan Harmon as the creator on it. I mean, yeah, he made Community, he made Rick and Morty, but those shows were much more fun and weren't relying on a novelty to sell itself, and it wasn't selling out future seasons before the first episode even aired. Like, it's a mess of a show. It wastes so many good, talented people that are involved in this cast. And the jokes aren't funny, the characters are not interesting whatsoever. The fact that they're trying to sell this as the next big thing, when it's just not worth it in the end. And it's a really bad show. It definitely does not deserve to be in the same category as some of Fox's other animated shows, which are still watchable after all these years. And even the new ones that they put on as of late have been good shows, but this is the one they put all the money into, so they're going to cram this down your throat until they convince you it's a good show, which it isn't. It's never going to be a good show. I'm sorry to say that, but it's never going to be a good show. So, Crapopolis. It's the name certainly describes the show. It's a piece of crap. So number 7 on my list of the worst TV shows of the year, Not Dead Yet. This is a show that starred Gina Rodriguez from Jane the Virgin, and it follows her as an accident-prone American newspaper reporter who left her last job 5 years ago to move to the United Kingdom with a lover. She returns to the U.S. when the relationship ends and tries to resume her journalism career as a newly single woman. The woman is assigned to write obituaries for a new employer and begins to encounter ghosts of the people whose obituaries she is writing, with only whom she can see and hear. The ghosts begin to have conversations with her and offer advice on how to rebuild her life, while also helping to write their obituaries by telling her their stories. The ghosts then disappear after their obituaries are published. So, seems like ABC is trying to rip off the success of Ghosts, which is a far superior show. And Gina Rodriguez is a great actress who can make this work. It's not a bad idea at all, just not the best execution in general. It's just not really all that funny. Like, the writing is not that great. The acting is okay, I guess, but it certainly could be a whole lot better. There's a lot of good talent involved in the show. Brad Garrett's also going to be in the show in the new season. You got Hannah Simone from New Girl, Lauren Ash, Martin Mull, Thelma Hopkins, Rhea Perlman show up in the show every once in a while. There's a phenomenal cast to this show, but it's just not it's just not working well, and you can just tell that they're ripping off the concept of Ghost, which does that concept a lot better, and it has a good idea to it, but it's just not funny. It's just not worth it. And it's a shame because the people involved in this really are worthy of better material than this. And I mean, hopefully the next season will make it better, but I don't know. To me, it just didn't work. So Not Dead Yet, I believe we're at 7 now. Yeah, number 7, my least favorite show of 2023. Coming in at number 6, the NFL. Just the NFL in general. It's not fun to watch anymore. And this season in particular really is showing it because of a number of different reasons. One, too many lopsided games. Too many games where one team is clearly doing better than the other team is. Too many times when the referees get involved in the game and it completely ruins the ebb and flow. Too many times when the NFL is trying to create the next big viral thing. Everything from Taylor Swift to the Chargers girl to all these people that they're trying to make into the next meme. It's just completely, it's just out of it. And it doesn't help that you have all these teams that have been notoriously bad for so many years that they're trying to continue to push as, okay, these are the futures. Baltimore's finally going to go all the way. Dallas is going to go all the way. Cleveland's finally going to go all the way. It's just what makes you think that this year is going to be any different? Oh yeah, because half the quarterbacks in the league are injured or out for the season. But okay, so what? It really shouldn't matter. There's no reason why Kansas City should not be in the top of the playoff picture, and instead have to be locked into a 3rd seed. There's no reason why teams is and another thing that's wrong with the NFL, they overhype everything. The trades are getting ridiculously more lopsided, and they're not even good trades when they actually matter. Aaron Rodgers, they made a big deal about Aaron Rodgers coming to the New York Jets, and what did they really do? And what has he really done? 4 snaps, season's over, but they kept having this idea that, oh, he's going to come back if the Jets make a playoff run. We're going to push Zach Wilson, get us to the playoffs. We're going to keep pushing you to make the playoffs. That's not how you help a team succeed. Russell Wilson finally was doing good for the Denver Broncos this year because he had a good coach. And then they just decide, you know what, Russell, if you're not going to get rid of this injury clause, we're just going to bench you for the rest of the season, even though we're still very much in the playoff hunt and could still win the AFC West at this point. Yeah, you're not going to play the rest of the season. So also better yet, we're just going to bench you. Seahawks completely fleeced the Broncos, and the Cleveland Browns. You know why they're in the playoffs now? Not because of Deshaun Watson, because Joe Flacco got off his ass, and for the last 4 weeks, he's been the one thing that's been carrying the Cleveland Browns all the way through. It's just nothing about the NFL makes sense anymore, and it just feels like you cannot tell me that a lot of what's going on in here is rigged. And on top of that, the shows the people on the different networks like Amazon and NBC, they're just getting more and more obnoxious. I used to love Maria Taylor, but every time I see her on Football Night in America, she's just trying way too hard to be relatable. She's trying to pick something not because of how good the team is, but because she interviewed somebody on there. It doesn't make any sense. Coming in at number 5 on my worst TV shows of the year, Secret Invasion. Even somebody like me, who's been one of the biggest defenders of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the longest period of time, talk about one of the biggest disappointments of not just the year, but maybe of all time. This is probably the bottom of the barrel for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is coming from somebody who has been... I've been a fan of the MCU right from the start, but man, they dropped the ball on this one big time. Samuel Jackson's the only redeemable factor with the show, but then again, he's Nick Fury. He's always going to be badass no matter what you put him in. Some of the other casting in here is okay, but most of it isn't great. But when the show really kills over is in everything else. The writing is so badly executed, it actually creates a ton of plot holes within the MCU. The visuals are shockingly abysmal. It results into using an intro created by AI of all things. In a year where AI almost destroyed Hollywood pretty much, they use it here, and it looks horrible. A show with a budget of over $200 million should not look this bad, and yet somehow it does. This was supposed to be the massive event they've been setting up as far back as Far From Home, and so 4 years have built up to this. And this is the end result. This is a massive fail on everything. Marvel, Disney, everybody involved. This is shockingly one of the worst shows for just how much it absolutely disappointed everybody. All the high expectations it was setting itself up for just out the door. It's a mess. It's a disaster. I could not believe how bad this show was. I mean, it's really that bad. So yeah, Secret Invasion, number 5 on the list. Number 4, Saint X, which is a show that was on Hulu. You have a story it's based off of a novel. It's a psychological drama following the story of this woman who, on a dangerous mission to find out the truth of what happened to her older sister, who was brutally murdered and raped on an idealistic trip to the Caribbean 20 years earlier. Trailers look pretty good. The idea sounded pretty cool, and it ends up being one of the worst things you will ever see on TV this year. I mean, this is about as tedious and pretentious as a show as you can get. It keeps building and building to this big payoff to the point where you finally get to see what happens to this girl, and all you can think of yourself is, that was it? This is what you made me waste 8 hours of my life building up to? Like, Saint X is that show. This show that thinks it's so important. It wants to be the next big thing, and it just fails on every single level. The storytelling is a mess. The acting with nepotism at its worst. I mean, David Duchovny's daughter sucks in this. She's horrible. The mystery isn't that exciting. The twists aren't great. It's just a disaster of a show that fails to deliver on everything that it promises from that trailer, and just, it pulls the rug on you. It pulls the rug on you badly, and it just falls apart at the worst possible time. What a horrible show this was. Saint X, terrible, terrible show. Avoid it like the plague. So that brings us to number 3 on the list of my least favorite TV shows of the year, True Lies. We still can't put the original True Lies on Blu-ray or DVD or 4K yet, even though technically we are doing that now. But yeah, you know that show, you know that movie that revolved around a spy who basically covered up his life with, and his wife never knew about it until a situation came where she basically had to find out about it. Well, CBS basically turned that classic James Cameron movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis and turned it into this. A generic-ass procedural action series. They pulled the same bullshit that they did with Rush Hour 6 years ago. They took a great movie. Well, Rush Hour's not a great movie. It's a good movie, but they took a great movie by James Cameron and turned it into a bland-ass procedural that just takes all the charm and the uniqueness that made it stand out and just throws it away. It's just every other network TV procedural, and it's not even one of the good ones. This show is awful, and it's not the actor's fault. Steve Howey was on Shameless. You know, Ginger Gonzaga is a great character actress, and it's got Beverly D'Angelo in it, for God's sakes. I mean, it's even not Matt Nix's fault. This is the guy that made Burn Notice. He's made some underrated gems, like Billy Crystal's The Comedians and Fox's The Gifted, which was one of those X-Men spin-offs they did. But CBS should have never had their hands on this whatsoever, because if we're being honest, this turned out to be as bad as it sounded. You don't get leads like these two who are you don't get two leads like this who are nowhere near the acting chops of Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis and their roles from the original movie. And all you do is take their names and put them on two bland-ass characters that are not written well at all and have no chemistry to them whatsoever. What hurts the most about True Lies is that's something that you need to think about here. Like I said, we were waiting years and years to get more from True Lies. They've been talking about a sequel for decades. The film had yet to get a proper Blu-ray release up until they just announced it a couple months ago. We finally get something new from True Lies after almost 30 years. And this was the best they could come up with? You got two actors that can be good in other works, but they can't play these characters anywhere near as good as what Arnold and Jamie Lee did. They turned this cool, slick-ass action comedy from James Cameron and made it into a generic, bland procedural action series. We waited 30 years for this. This may be the worst thing that they've done to a movie. And this is worse than what they did to Rush Hour. It's that bad. Like, it amazes me looking back on what they did with Lethal Weapon over at Fox and thinking, how the hell did that work? And it actually not only holds up, but it's actually really damn good. All 3 seasons are legitimately good. They found a way to take one of the great action movie franchises of all time and gave it new life and a distinctive modern look for a new generation that makes it stand out. True Lies has none of that. It's a shame that this show is around because it's an insult to James Cameron's movie. It's not clever. It's not slick. It's not awesome. It's just bland mesh. And CBS probably realized they fucked up big time because they axed this thing pretty quickly. This is easily one of the worst shows of 2023, and it's not even close. So yeah, True Lies definitely up there with the year's worst shows. Moving on to number 2, another one of those shows that was highly talked about by HBO and not for the best reasons. The Idol. Sam Levinson's follow-up to Euphoria. You have a story about a pop idol who resolves to reclaim her title as the sexiest pop star in the United States after her last tour was canceled following a nervous breakdown. She begins a complex relationship with this guy named Tedros, played by The Weeknd, a self-help guru with the head of a contemporary cult. And boy, this is a show that could easily kill the careers of both Sam Levinson and The Weeknd. The Weeknd is an awesome artist, a music artist, but man, this was bad. This was unbearable. Like, even somebody like me, who is more lenient on stuff like this, I cannot look at this and say this is a good show. This is an abysmal mess of a show that just does not work. The Weeknd is trying his hardest here to make this work as an actor, but he's just not worth it. He's not even trying in this show. And Lily Rose Depp, who, again, nepotism, Johnny Depp's daughter. I mean, she's not that great of an actress in here. Like, kind of going back to something we talked about in other things, like, you really need good chemistry with your two leads to really get a show like this going the way that it should. But you just don't have it here. It's just it's a boring show. There's no purpose to it whatsoever. You really never get the sense that this was going anywhere. Right if we get to the last episode of the show, which I guess was supposed to be part of a 6-episode run, but they cut it down to 5 episodes because maybe the people who saw it looked at this and said, "Oh my God, what the hell were we thinking?" Like, again, this is a show that could have easily killed the careers of both Sam Levinson and The Weeknd, which I hope it doesn't kill The Weeknd's career, and I hope it doesn't kill Sam Levinson's career, because they've done so much better works in the long run. But The Idol was just a mess. Just really, really bad show. Really horrible show. Definitely the second worst show of the year, but that's nothing compared to the number 1 worst show of 2023. And I am, of course, talking about a show that came very early in the year, was heavily criticized right from the get-go. That show is, of course, Velma. Velma, if you don't know the story, is that this takes place in an alternate universe. It serves as an alternate universe origin story for Mystery Inc., pitching it as a love quadrangle between them. It focuses mainly on Velma Dinkley as she tries to solve the mystery regarding the disappearance of her mother, as well as the numerous murders of local teenage girls. So, I'm not gonna lie, I was just like everybody else when I first saw those trailers, and I just thought how cringeworthy and unfunny those trailers were. I thought this was going to be terrible right from the get-go, but I had to really go into it, giving it a fair shot. Like, it's like what Roger Ebert used to say about critiquing movies. You have to give a movie its day in court, and rightfully so. I had to give this a fair chance, so I finally did it. I went through the entire first season, giving it the benefit of the doubt, and I still hated it. From the very first episode, the humor and the characters are just so detestable and so unlikable on so many levels. There's nothing wrong with doing a show differently or doing something different, but when it fails miserably, a show like this is the end result. And let me just say right off the bat, I don't hate Mindy Kaling. I'm not on the let's hate Mindy Kaling train, because she's been involved in a lot of good stuff, and she has been involved in a lot of good stuff. The Mindy Project was great. The Office was great. How many good movies was she in before this? Like, she's been behind some bad stuff too. Like A Wrinkle in Time was not that great, but I'm not getting all on her. I just feel like this was just not as well thought as they originally intended. And just one of the big problems from the show right from the get-go is that it feels like the creators of the show are just fucking with people and trolling them, because no competent writer would have written something so unfunny or creative whatsoever. I mean, there was a picture that went out when this show came around where you have the Shaggy in this, played by Sam Richardson, who's a black character, with this woman, and somebody put this picture on social media and said, "Oh, the following episodes get so much worse. Meet Scoob. Fellow food reviewer Norville decides to dates to get over Velma. Yeah, Scooby with an I. Evil finds a way." That was a picture that was on social media, and this was a couple weeks into the show's run. And a lot of people, including myself, really thought this was something the show was going to do. But Turns out that wasn't the case at all. It was basically a completely new character they created for the show. But honestly, when I saw that, and after watching the show, would you have guessed that? Would you have been that surprised if they really did go that route and somebody found out it was leaked and just changed it later on in the production? Like, it really would not surprise me if that was the case. And this is just a bad show. Like, Velma is a show that just doesn't have any warrant to it at all. It's a mostly misguided mess of a show with some really lazy writing, some really bad cringe comedy, a voice cast that deserves way better than this. And it's not fun at all. I mean, if the best thing I could say about it is that it's not Fairview bad, because Fairview was a horrible show that came out last year. But then again, no animated show is Fairview bad, but it isn't just good. It just isn't good. It's one of the worst TV shows of the year. Like, it may very well be, it is very much the worst show of the year when it's all said and done. No show this year that I saw comes to the levels of horridness that this show did. This is just a colossal misfire on so many levels. And it got another season because people watched it so much that Warner Brothers took it as, people like this, that means we got to do another season. And like, I'm not going to watch it because, like, I already saw everything I needed to see with the first season. I don't need to torture myself with this again. This is a bad show. Like, Velma really is the worst show of 2023. And at this point, it might very, very well be one of the worst shows of the decade. When 2030 comes around and we're putting out the worst of the decade, this may definitely be on that list. It's that bad of a show. So yeah, Velma, the worst show of 2023, in my personal opinion. And again, if you want to tell me your thoughts down below on what you think are the best and worst shows, as always, the comment section is always open. So we're about to wrap things up here. So let's go ahead and wrap things up with kind of a final message to all of you. So as we are about to finish up 2023, of course, this is a time to reminisce and look back on the year as a whole. And I think for a lot of people, it was a very mixed bag year for them. I mean, a lot of good things happened for them, a lot of things that weren't as good happened to them. And I can honestly say that I definitely feel that way in terms of not just the success of the site and all that, but just life in general. Like, there was a lot of good things that happened this year, but then there were some not so good things that happened this year. I mean, there was a lot of things in particular that really did take me off guard for a number of different reasons. Things that happened that I should have been more careful on, things that just happened in life in general. But like everything kind of came and went, and it was a mostly mixed bag year for me. I mean, like, in terms of my life in general, everything kind of happened. There were some good things that happened. There was a lot of bad things that happened as well. But like everything that happened, like it really was a mixed bag. Like, there were some things in life, like little things. Like, it's, you know how it is, like with little things, like once the little things start stacking up, they become much bigger and bigger things, and you start to worry more and more about how you handle the rest of your life. And I've honestly felt that way. I mean, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be 35 years old. I'm going to be out of that, critical demographic that used to be the big thing. Like, between 18 and 35, that was the one where everyone pays attention to you more. But like, I'm going to be 35 in a couple of weeks, and I've slowly but surely started to realize that my life kind of, like, I'm kind of reaching that second part of my life where I really need to start thinking about, doing things kind of differently the way I used to do. And I think the universe is kind of helping out with that, with some things. Like, there was a lot of letdown this year, in the way that, like, one of the things that I'm known for having is my massive collection of movies and all that, and seeing a lot of places that I usually go to starting to dwindle down those physical media sections, when physical media is still just as important as ever, but they're still trying to push these streaming services on you, even though there's still a ton of things wrong with the streaming aspect in general that you can't really get a whole lot with it. Like, you get edited movies on streaming, you can't get, it's like you can still get unedited movies and movies as they were originally presented on physical media, but like, they're still trying to take as much of it out of you as you can, so you can't get it anymore, and you have to basically, like, the whole thing with Best Buy. Like, I go to Best Buy all the time to get my movies, especially with the steelbooks and all that, and we're only a couple months away from them being completely gone of physical media in general, so that's one big store that I always go to that I'm not going to be able to go to as much as I usually do anymore. And there were times this year when I admittedly had some financial troubles, mostly because I thought I was balancing my money out as well as I could, but then there were times during the year when I realized that, oh shit, I better figure out how to like not spend as much as I'm used to doing, and more importantly, keeping control of my money. There were times this year when I accidentally overdrafted on some credit cards. I had some credit cards, debit cards, so I had to take care of that with the banks and all that. I got that straightened out, but those moments really did wake me up in terms of like when I go to a store, like I want to get as much stuff as I can, but at the same time, I don't really want to spend a ton of money on something that I really want, but don't really need. I think I'm getting to that point where there's going to be less and less buying things that I really want to get, but I need, but not stuff but it's going to be mostly stuff I need to get. Like, I'll still buy movies every once in a while if there's one I have to have in my collection, but more than likely it's not going to be like it used to be, where I'm just buying stuff, unless I'm buying stuff to sell online, which, that's been working out for me over the last couple of years, which but just my personal life, it was very mixed. It's been a very mixed bag of the year. I want to say 2024 is going to get better, but you never really know. I hope it does get better from here. I hope something happens where my luck turns around. Like, I feel like that. I want to believe that there's still something out there that really makes me glad I'm heading into 2024 with some high expectations. But even though a lot of things that happened beforehand this past year have really made me question that, but the year in general was pretty good. I mean, I'm saying, like, I'm starting this off like it's a really bad thing. Like, I had a really terrible year. I didn't have a really terrible year. The year overall was pretty good. Was okay. Was pretty good. I wouldn't say pretty great. I wouldn't say like really bad. It's just kind of like, it was a good time. It was just good times for the most part. This year, of course, the website celebrated its 10th anniversary. I had all this stuff planned out, and I got through most of what I wanted to do for the celebrations. I started all these different shows. I actually put a book out in 2023, which is something that I never thought I was going to be able to do with the time I had, but I put it out there. I honestly would admit that it's probably not the best book I would have put out, and I basically set myself a deadline that I thought I could get to, but I learned the hard way with that book that if I wanted to get it published in time, I had to publish it weeks in advance to make sure that it got the green light from Amazon's Kindle, the KDP thing from Amazon that I used to put it out. But the book came out. It's available if you want to get it. And if you don't believe me, I'm literally flapping the book right now as I'm literally recording this. But I can at least say I accomplished that. I accomplished the mission of getting a podcast channel pretty much is on here. The Reviewing Network Live has come on there, and we're slowly but surely building an audience. And I'm hoping that you've been enjoying these free previews. So that means you can follow us over onto the other channel and watch those there. The website as a whole has been doing pretty about much where we were last year. We have about the same amount of views there, even though it's like more viewers are coming over have been following mostly through the YouTube channel and through other social medias. Like, I joined Threads this year. I've been getting more involved in Instagram. I've been putting out more videos on YouTube. The YouTube audience has been growing. We just had one of our best days yesterday. And we're closing in on 3,000 subscribers by this point. I think at the time I'm recording this now, we're at 2,893, which could grow easily by the time this ends, and hopefully by the time by the time we get into 2024, we'll be more than above 3,000. That's my hope for this. But I'm putting more content into this. I'm putting more content over onto the other channel, and it seems to be working. And a lot of people seem to be really liking what I'm putting on here. Like, I'm trying to branch out the channel as a whole. Like, it's not just movie reviews. It's like YouTube poops. It's like, I've started to do some riffs over the last couple of weeks, riffing some classic PSA public domain shorts like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Mr. Bungle. And I've been doing more trailer reviews over on the other channel to help boost that channel, because those are the ones that usually do pretty well. Been doing more comedy videos with some videos I found online, and I'm hoping that one day one of these two channels will actually result in me getting some monetization. Unfortunately, I can't do it on the main channel, because this is mostly where on here I usually use a lot of copyrighted stuff, but like I use it for this. I use it, but and that's part of the reason why it can't get, monetized on this channel. But that's why I kind of pushed all the podcast channel over to becoming more that. Hopefully that we get more subscribers over there. That way I can start earning some more money from there. One day I would like to quit my job and start doing this for a living, but I still have to work at my job, which is fine with me. It gets frustrating, especially around this time of the year with the holidays and all that. But I still do enjoy my job. I still enjoy getting paid. But yeah, it really does take a lot out of you. But I understand that. That's the part of hard work. Like, you go in there, you do your job well, and sure enough, good things will come from that. I mean, that's basically what we get from movies like Princess and the Frog. I love that movie, how it basically just tells you that, yeah, you can wish upon a star as much as you like to, but you know what? You have to put in the work too to make your dreams come true. And so, sure enough, that's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks and months. And there was a lot of things that we could talk about this year in terms of like the way the world of Hollywood's changed, like the whole thing with the actors and the writers' strike. It really did show us what the true ambitions of some people that we had come to respect at some points really showed us. Like Bob Iger, like everyone thought Bob Iger was that guy that everyone kind of liked, and then as soon as he comes back and then the strike happens, he makes the decision to go on national television the day after the strike starts. And the day after he signs this massive contract extension and goes out to tell people the demands of the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild are just too much to handle. Like, moments like that really show you the true scumbaggery of some people that you really come to respect over the years. Like, people that you kind of had an attachment to. In general, it's like the whole thing with the Steelers. Like, this is a team that I've grown up loving over the years, and the way they've handled this year, especially the last month, it just takes a lot out of you. Like, it's very emotionally deflating at times. Like, even though they won today, they're probably still not going to make the playoffs because you need a ton of help. And every time they try to get help, it's just kind of like the football guys just don't want to listen. Like, it's just like, yeah. So again, I'm kind of getting negative here, but that's just kind of how the year has been. Like, for every good thing that happened, there's always like a deflating thing, an emotionally deflating thing that happened shortly afterwards. But I've been kind of mixed back and forth here, but I want to look ahead to 2024. I want to be positive going forward into the new year. So what are my goals going into 2024? I mean, I have a lot of things planned. I mean, just as the new year is going to begin, I'm starting this monthly thing that I have planned for the 30th anniversary of The Critic. I have this thing that's going to be starting tonight, where I'm going to be taking a look at the entire series throughout the course of the month of January. And I've also had plans about doing one for The Simpsons for September, like a September type of thing. I haven't really decided if I'm going to go through with that yet, but seeing, Doug Walker do the Disney Decembers and James Rolfe doing the Monster Madness thing, and I've kind of been doing my own thing over on the main website, like Marvelous May and December, which I haven't done any of those for this year. Hopefully I can get around to coming back to it this year. I kind of wanted to wait for December until some new stuff started coming out from DC, but I have a lot of things planned for the new year. Things that will hopefully kind of like elevate the website and the channel to another level going into the second half, the second decade of ours. There's a lot of things I have planned. More time being put on Time About the Movies. More time being put on the Flashback show. The Review Network talks about. A lot of new shows coming to the main channel. And it's just like, I'm trying to put as much effort into these channels and to the website as I can. We have a new Bob's Burgers weekly post coming out every week starting on next week. I mean, I'm looking ahead to 2024. I mean, I feel like that if I can continue to put effort into these channels and the website, surely good things are going to happen going down the road. One would hope that would be the case, but you never really know. I'm just hoping that 2024 is going to be a really good year for me, in terms of my creativity, keeping everything in check and all that, and like everything. Like, I really want to be able to go throughout a year without having a lot of struggles going through in terms of getting creator's block or writer's block or something like that. It's not getting or even getting to the point where I'm too busy and too many things are happening where I get lost in the shuffle and I can't really do what I want to do. I hope that's not the case. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but it's just something I keep in the back of my mind ever since I started thinking about what I wanted to say here. But on the positive note, uh, there was 2023 had a lot of learning experiences for me, like me learning how to, put a lot of effort into these channels and all that, putting a lot of work into like just my work in general, like not just my work on the website, but like in terms of my job that I get paid for, my working job. I still have to this very day. It's hard to believe it's going to be next year. Will be in 2 years. It's going to be 20 years since I started working at the grocery store that I work at. It's just like, how did I last that long? Like, nobody should be in the first job they have for that long, but I somehow found a way to do it, and it gets the job done. It's helping me pay my bills and all that. So as long as I keep doing the job that I keep doing the best job that I feel like I've been doing, I really don't see no reason to leave it until I know for certain that I can make about as much or maybe more than that outside of that. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But I have learned a lot over the last year. I've had the great ability to know that my friends and family are still very supportive of what I do, and they really like what I put out there, and I get a lot of people that really like what I do, and it just really is very special to know that. Like, it's really special to know that people are paying attention to you and listening to what you have to say, because I freely admit that I think this year really was the year that made me say, you know what, screw what anybody else has to say. I don't care how people do their jobs. I'm just going to do what I do best. I'm going to do what I do in terms of like saying what I want to say about something. I'm not going to worry about what other people say. I'm just going to say, if I like something, I like something. If I don't like something, I don't like something. I just feel real comfortable with saying that now. Like, I'm more than comfortable in saying that The Flash is not that good of a movie. In fact, it's a really bad movie. I liked Indiana Jones. I liked Wish. I don't like Wonka. I like these things that a lot of people don't like. I don't like things that a lot of people like. I'm more than comfortable in saying that now, and knowing that I may get criticized for it, but you know what? That's just what you have to do. Like, you can't be afraid to say what you have to say about specific things. And I just really come to that. This year really was the year that made me say, you know what? I don't care what anybody says anymore. I'm just gonna be me, and hopefully I can use that to my advantage going into the new year. So really, when it's all said and done, I just want people to be happy. I think everyone wants to be happy. I want everyone to feel like that they don't have to worry so much about what they're listening to or what they have to hear from somebody. Like, I know I'm just kind of rambling on at this point, but I just kind of want to, like, I feel like Bill Murray at the end of Scrooge. Like, he goes on this eccentric rant that really doesn't it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the long run, but then when you realize what it's all building up to, the message is really clear what they're trying to get out there, and is what he's trying to get out there, and that's kind of what I feel like with this, because it's just like, I know it just feels like I'm kind of rambling on, but that's just kind of the way that this was kind of being planned out. Like, I'm not really, this is like improvised off the cuff stuff I'm saying right now. I'm not reading this off of a script or anything. Like, this is coming straight from the heart. I get it. I mean, I really do get it. So it has definitely been a year. I think that's the best way to end it off with. It's definitely been a year. There's been a lot of good. There's been a lot of bad. I think we just got to accept the fact that that's just the way that life's got to have to be at this point. And I think if you just go along with that, sometimes a lot of good things will happen to you, and bad things will happen too. But you just gotta figure out how to balance it all out. And I think that's something that we should definitely think about going into 2024. Yes, we want 2024 to be the best year ever. That's more than a given than anything. But like, sometimes things just happen, and you just gotta accept. You just gotta figure out how to get past it. It's not gonna be easy all the time, but sometimes you just gotta let it be. And it's just like, let the things happen, and just hope for the best. And as we move into a new year, I hope for the best for everyone out there. I hope for the best for myself, everyone out there. I hope you all have a great new year. Hopefully it's filled with a lot of great things, and even when you have bad things happen to you, I hope you find ways to get past it without really resulting in anything too crazy or too significant. Like, life is not like life is. That's just what life is. It really, like, you just gotta accept. Sometimes you just gotta accept things that the way they are. But it's when those times come when you really can't accept it, you got to find a way to figure out how to get through, is how to move up, how to really get past what they're telling you, and try to do something that's going to really stand up, really going to work to your advantages. Like, again, I'm just rambling on right now. That last sentence probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but let me just kind of wrap this up here, because I'm rambling on at this point, and basically what I wanted to say was this. I hope your 2024 is a great year. I hope my 2024 is a great year. We're all hoping for the best. You know, it's not going to be nobody's ever said it's going to be easy. Nobody ever said it's going to be hard, but we all got to find a way to get through it. And hopefully the new year will bring us a ton of new wonders, a ton of new excitement all the way through. I'm very curious to see where the new year is going to take everybody, including myself. I'm really curious where my creativity and my juices are really going to take into effect coming into the new year. And I really am excited to show you guys some of the stuff that I have planned for the new year. Hopefully we can build the improvement of the channels here, as well as the main website. I mean, it's just going to be, you always got to hope for the best and hope for good things to come. And it really is something that it really is a lot of time. Right now is really a time of reflection, but it's also time to look ahead to what the future brings us. And really, I can't really say too much more that hasn't already been said already. So that's essentially going to wrap this episode up of the Reviewing Network Live, our last episode of the year, and maybe the last video in general in terms of in 2023. But just to say to everybody, I hope you have a very happy new year. I hope you have a happy holiday, and I hope your 2024 is as good as it can be. I hope my 2024 is as good as it can be. I have a lot of good ideas going forward into the future, not just on the website but on the main channel, and hopefully it'll work out in the end for no matter who you are. And thanks for making 2023 special. It was a really good, fun year overall. Definitely a very mixed bag year for a number of people, and a lot, including myself. But you learn things, and then you take that into the next year. You take it into the next level, and you hope that you can be a better person when it's all said and done. And I hope that's going to be the case going forward. One would hope, but again, we will see what happens. But so with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this particular show. And if you want to see more shows like this, go over to our other channel, the Reviewing Network Live. We'll have more new videos over there in the new year. But until then, thanks for watching. Have a happy new year, and say goodbye to 2023 and hello to 2024. So with that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything. And I will see you guys next time. So until we head to next year, we are out.